We got to talk about the state of the franchise for the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, when you think about the future of the Cowboys, man, I think that we're coming very close to seeing them enter a rebuild. They said that they were going to be all in, and they haven't been all in. They've lost more than what they've gained in free agency. They signed Eric Kendricks. That's been their biggest free agency signing so far, but they've lost so many talented players, man. And not just did they lose a good amount of talented players, they lost a lot of depth pieces. And even though you have a little bit of money to spend in free agency, it's not a lot. You're 29th right now in available cap space, only $4.98 million, and you have to get deals done long-term with Dak, who probably is going to ask for $55-60 million a year. Ceedee Lamb is going to be one of the highest paid at his position. Micah Parsons. You're going to have a big decision to make with Zach Martin, who still is playing at a really high level, and he's getting up there in age. Are you going to let him walk? You let Tyron Smith hit free agency, and you don't really know if you're going to have a good replacement for him. You have Leighton Van Der Esch, who retires. You lost a lot of key depth pieces on that defensive line. The Dallas Cowboys cannot afford to have any whiffs in the draft this year. Every draft pick that they make this year has to pan out. Last year, Monty Smith, I didn't even hear that dude's name called. Where's Jalen Tolbert? Dallas hasn't really done a great job at drafting on the offensive side of the football the last couple of years. Hell, where is their running back? Who's going to be the RB1 for Dallas this year? Is it going to be Deuce Vaughn? Are they going to bring back Ezekiel Elliott? Dallas right now is in a situation where they're trapped because they don't want to move on from Dak Prescott, even though with them at quarterback, he's not going to be able to get them over the hump, but yet he's good enough to the point where it's hard to replace him because you can't find too many quarterbacks available in the open market that are better than Dak Prescott, which is why the Dallas Cowboys keep overpaying this man and why they keep getting the results that they get in the playoffs. They are handcuffed to a quarterback that is good enough that it's hard to find a suitable replacement for him, but yet he doesn't play good enough where he can get you far in the postseason. And Ceedee Lamb, he's not going to take a discount. And you know Jerry Jones likes taking care of his star players. And the Dallas Cowboys, with Jerry Jones' tendency to overpay his best players, which there's nothing wrong with that, you're going to be a top-heavy team in the future. And when Dak, Ceedee, Micah are going to be taking up the majority of the cap, along with Trayvon Diggs and eventually DaRon Bland, how much money are you going to have to allocate to other positions to field a competitive football team? Because you no longer are a Super Bowl caliber football team right now. And I'm pretty sure you Cowboy fans will agree with that. You guys have lost so much depth. Depth is the sole reason why you guys were able to win 12 games last year. You guys had Marquise Bell, who was a former undrafted rookie free agent out of FAMU, who was playing linebacker for you last year, and he was playing really well at that position. But when you get that thin, and you have so much depth to make up for that, and you lose that during the offseason, that comes back to bite you in the butt during the season. Because you know that during a regular season, especially with it being 17, eventually 18 games, that it's hard to keep the majority of your starters healthy. Some of your most important players are the backups. And when you lose that kind of depth, it's hard to overcome that just by trying to replace it all in the draft. Because a lot of the guys that you're going to draft aren't going to work out unless you just find a lot of diamonds in the rough. And Dallas isn't a team that's bad at drafting, but they definitely are one of those teams that they have their fair share of hits and misses. So it's 50-50 on how the Dallas Cowboys draft picks this year pan out. But based on their history, they're more likely to have maybe one or two hits and a good amount of misses. And Dak Prescott, I just believe you should just trade him, see if you can get a first or second round pick for him, and then try to draft Shedeur Sanders next year, or try to tank for one of the better quarterbacks eventually. Eventually, Dallas is going to reach the point where they have to hit that reset button. You're going to just have so much money that you have to pay your star players that it's going to make it impossible for you to be good at other areas on the offensive line, on defense, where you're not going to have the necessary amount of capital available to put into those positions. And Washington, they are catching up with you. The Philadelphia Eagles, we know the talent's already there. The New York Giants, I mean, we don't know about them. It doesn't look good for them either, but you're in a better position than what they are in right now. But imagine if Brian Dable gets the right quarterback and they improve the offensive line. The Giants are only one good offseason a quarterback away from being back to competing for this division again. So if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, I believe that the more and more that you start to watch the Dallas Cowboys moves, the closer you come to realizing that a rebuild is just around the corner for you. And at this point, why not just try to rebuild? You went all in last year, if you ask me. Jerry Jones said all in this year. It seemed like 2023 was the year you went all in when you got Brandon Cooks, you got Stephon Diggs. You're not making a lot of big moves right now. And Jerry Jones had to come back and rephrase his all-in comments or explain what he meant by it, but we know what he meant. And we know Jerry Jones tends to be a little bit emotional. He tends to talk a lot, but he really wants to win. But he realizes that with the situation the Cowboys have right now, if they can't win this year, it's going to be a while before they have a chance to win another Lombardi trophy. And I don't see that coming anytime soon. A rebuild is on the horizon for the Dallas Cowboys.